All right, all right. Hello, hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I am here with Adrian Betton, my good friend. Look, guys, it's 1 a.m. in the UK, and
That's
this
fine
man
with me.
stayed up. He stayed up to come hang out with us today. So, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Adrian, before I let you go, jump into all your Superman stuff. Let me go ahead and play our intro, and I'll
Let's
come right
do
back
that.
to you.
No problem.
When I get done with like talking about how bad my intro is, I realize it actually isn't so bad, man. It's kind of
It's not
funky. I,
too
I
bad.
like it.
Do you know what's funny? I can't hear it actually from this end.
Ah, get out of there, oh, man, you missed it. Ah,
Yeah.
it was nice, man. I probably could have won a Grammy for it. Like I'm
I believe you.
so everybody, I want to make sure I introduce my good friend Adrian Betton. Uh, Adrian again is from the UK. His title. Let me make sure I read this properly
That's fine.
because I want to make sure I get this right from a man. All right, Adrian's title. He is the director of procurement, innovation, and strategy at Help My Be It. Now, Adrian, I wanna set you up, man, so that you can actually help us understand what that means and why is that important.
Okay, sure. So, as I said, thanks for having me on. Obviously, Kelly,
Yes,
I
sir.
really do appreciate it. As I said, my name's Adrian Betton. I'm a procurement director. Specifically, what that means is I manage tenders and bids and how people win contracts. And I've been doing this for the last 20 years, all across
Hmm.
the UK, private and public sector.
Hmm.
It's given me a fantastic insight into a number of projects that are happening or developments that are happening in different industries, all across a number of industries from central government, local government to our National Health Service, all across the breadth of
Yep.
that, banking, technology, IT, construction. And it's just given me a window into so many different things. Why that's important? It's really important for two sets of people. Um, Main set of people is important for is for salespeople. What I
Yeah.
do is I help and coach businesses to sell into these organizations,
That's right.
especially public sector. Help them understand some of the dark art, as we call it, of procurement. I
Yep.
reveal some of the secrets so that people can learn, and also it gives you a good window into so many different areas. You learn so much about people, presentations, how to submit paperwork, how to understand stakeholders, the different drivers that
Right.
are in. So
Right.
it's such a really broad, exciting career, and I love sharing with people to try and help them. And so that's what I do. I'm a business
Right.
coach and a life coach as well. So that's what I do.
And now I love how you kind of transitioned it right into helping people see the value in it, right? Because
Mm.
um it was and I don't want to butcher the story for you, but I want to talk to you about the 2012 Olympics because they were in
Okay,
London, right?
exactly right. Yeah.
All right. So now in the 2012 Olympics, your was it you or was it your company? What was it when you went off on your own here or was it the
Yeah,
company through?
so okay, so I spent a good part of my career prior to the Olympics working for other organizations
Yep.
in a permanent capacity, and then I got headhunted while I was at one of these organizations to come and join a consultancy, and so I was contracted out, and I was really privileged to be one of the first people to be working on
Right.
the entire Olympics park. So in fact, the first project that I did was the first contract that they signed, and that was to actually clear the Olympic Park, the area that was there. Then they built the stadium, then they built all the other bits that go around it. So, and I worked on a number of projects that were there.
Now, here's the beautiful thing, and Tony, Dr. Tony Johnson here is the
Mhm.
beautiful thing because she and I were just talking about the idea of working with getting government contracts. So
Absolutely.
you guys,
Mhm.
you should definitely link up because Adrian has all the inside scoop on how to get those kind of things done.
Mhm.
Tony, that's for you directly. Just adding
Mhm.
value for you.
Yes, sir.
Uh, the the um, the thing that I thought was very interesting on when you were telling me about the project is one, how far ahead they're planning on these projects,
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
can you kind of give us a little bit of insight into that, and as well as
Mhm.
the amount, like as far as money monetarily, the amount of money for these contracts.
Right. So the thing about procurement is we are normally the after they've worked out what they want to do, we're one of the first people that are called in to help them strategize, to program manage, and to decide when and where they package up goods and services across a piece. So it's very likely that projects that I'm working on are at least 5, 6, 7 years ahead
Hmm.
of when you would see any activity. I was working on one recently, and it was a minimum of 10 years ahead before
Wow.
anybody would see anything. Huge project, but people don't realize that these things are not necessarily wrapped up, but lots of decisions are happening years and years in the future. And especially government planning, they've got lots of finance which they've got to work out, funding which they've got to work out and raise and bits and pieces. So the thought and the activity itself starts a long time before many people hear about it.
Yep, yep. Now, can you? I know for every project isn't going to be this super huge big project, but
That's fine.
can you talk a little bit about the amount of money you're talking about when you're doing
Mhm.
something like a government project,
Yeah.
like the Olympics?
Okay. Well, I mean, again, it depends on the nature of the service or the good that you're doing. Yeah.
Hmm.
So you could have a big project. Let's just say it's an architecture project, or it could run into the tens of millions. Yeah. I've done some which have been in the hundreds of millions as well. Recently done
Wow.
some in the hundreds of millions, and it's for projects that are going to go over at least a 5 year project period. And so
Yeah.
the amount of work that could be involved in that, the numbers start to rack up, especially if you're doing things like construction and
Yep.
when you're doing earth moving buildings and
Yep.
sites like that. There's huge money that is being going across the table. So, but just as important and just as interesting are the small ones as well. That could
Sure.
be
Sure.
what I might call £100,000 or 10,000 or 50,000. You can find
Yeah.
some amazing gems that are within there. And you know what I advise, especially for people coming into working with the government, you start off by trying to do the smaller projects. You build up your caliber, build up your reputation, build up what you're going to do, your knowledge, and then what will happen is that will then qualify you for going further into the larger government contracts. Now, I
Yep.
appreciate that's the same thing in the state and the federal that you've got over there, and so the same thing applies.
Yep.
You want to build up a track record. You want to build, and then to start to gradually increment the type of work that you're applying for, and that's the type of thing I help coach people to do.
Did looks like Adrian froze for a second.
I'm here now. Can you see me?
All right, yeah, we got you back. Got you back.
Yeah.
Well, look, that it kind of leads into one of our regulars here, um, Laura Cobb. She asked a question here about. She says she lived in Germany for 8 years,
Hmm.
and she was affiliated with the U.S. Army. She says, "Are you
Okay.
familiar with the infrastructure and logistics?" Oh, there it is. Are you
Hmm.
familiar with the infrastructure and logistics with the projects? So,
Okay.
yeah,
Those
are you?
projects are here. Okay. Fine. So there is a number of people which are involved in those very large projects. You normally have a project manager, especially these big, large constructions. You'd have a project manager, a design kind of manager team that will be managing projects as a whole. Then you've
Mhm,
got individual people that are look, or should we say, the program as a whole, which is a number of
mhm,
projects, and then you've got individual people that manage specific projects in that program. So, and that you're working in conjunction. There's no way you can do this all on your own. You're working in
right,
conjunctions
right.
with specialists. And my specialism is the management of how they award, how they tender, how they put the packages together, sending that out to the market, and making sure that the awards that happen. I sit kind of in between, the
Yeah,
contracting authority and the supplier market. I'm there to make sure that it's done correctly. I'm there to make sure that it's done fairly. I'm there to make sure that you have a good opportunity, and there's value from you, and there's value delivered to the contracting authority. So you're kind of an arbiter, you're kind of a judge at the same time, and you have to juggle a number of stakeholders and opinions and different drivers. Is probably what I would describe it.
So one of the things that I thought that you really did well bringing to light, we talked a little bit about Mr. Orange, and I love the story. But one of the things that I thought was even um, the takeaway from the story is really a good way to kind of help people to understand what they should bring to the table when
Mm,
they're doing these different things, working on government contracts or contracts, excuse me, in general.
in
So can you
general.
can you tell us the story and can you let us
Yeah,
know
let's.
what your takeaway was?
Okay, I'll tell you the story of Mr. Orange, which is also on my LinkedIn if you want to pick it up.
That's right.
But on one of the projects that I was working on, the Olympic Park, was to do with the landscaping of how the Olympic Park looks. So the landscaping is broken down into two sections. You've got hard landscaping, which is all the harder tactile things that you might touch, like the roads or the pathways, concretes and the fences and things like that. And then you have the soft landscaping, which is all the shrubs, the flowers, the riverways, the beds, all of that. Now, so the Olympic Park is a very notable project, yeah. So
Yeah.
when we put out a tender for this package to do the landscaping of the Olympic Park, you can imagine how important that is. Everybody coming from around the world to come and look at this Olympic Park and attend,
Mhm.
yeah. And the area that it was known as being marshes and wastelands. In fact, there was a big railway that was in the middle of it, and railway
Mm.
signage. So lots of transformation involved there. So we put out a tender, and people from all over the world collaborated to come and put in their pitch and come and present to us for what their vision is for the Olympic Park.
Right.
And the story of Mr. Orange is that I remember sitting on pitch day, one of the days where we have everybody coming in to do their pitches, to myself and my panel. And the lift doors open, and out steps this man, all dressed in orange. Yeah, and when I mean orange, I mean orange Wellington boots, trousers, top, jacket, orange hat, orange glasses, and he's got all of these folders and his bags, and he's got all of these entourage with him, with these bespoke suits and all of these consultants that are running behind him and things like that. And so this big orange glow walks through the office. So obviously, all the eyes in my office are looking, thinking, "What is this guy about?" He goes up to reception, and he's actually one of the people that are going to come and tender for this work. So I bring them into our evaluation room, and they give a big presentation. So this is part of the tender process. You might submit your work, you submit your ideas on paper, answering all the questions that we have, and then if you qualify, we'll ask you to come in so we can meet the team and
Hmm.
meet you. Very important part of the tendering process. So obviously Mr. Orange comes up, and he's got his panel, he's got his team with him, and so we're asking him questions. The whole panel, we've got experts from every area you can imagine, all across the construction piece, all across the architectural piece. We've got Olympic seniors, if we call it that, people that are very high up in the Olympic realms, asking questions as well. And when he got started, I can tell you that it was like a film. You know, like when you watch a film and you see the genius and you see all these numbers flying all
Hmm.
around the place and charts and things like that. It was like that.
Yep.
And when he opened his mouth, it was amazing. And the story of what I call Mr. Orange is the fact that he came in there as himself, as his authentic self, all in orange, his design flair. It's all part of his creative flair, him being himself. And he didn't care how he looked. He came in as
Yeah.
himself. Not only did he do that, he came in and he knew his stuff. He really, really knew his stuff. So when we were talking to him and investigating the areas that he'd put through, it was, real forethought. It showed that he'd had the experience. He'd done something like this before, or his team had done something like this before. And that's what we're looking for when
Mm.
we're interviewing people. We're looking for that confidence that you can bring across, especially when you look into areas of design. You're looking for somebody that has got flair, but has also got
Mhm.
control, has got direction, has got and you see, this is a notable project. So when you're doing notable projects, money isn't necessarily the key thing here,
Hmm.
because the country is trying to design something which is iconic, so they'll throw money into it. And I've had other opportunities and other projects where it's been, no, we're looking for iconic, so we
Hmm.
expect to have a price tag attached to that.
Yeah.
So, so as I say, check it out on my LinkedIn. I always say that what we should do is try and show up just like Mr. Orange. When
That's
you
right.
enter into a room, be authentic, be yourself, know your stuff, um, get ready, be prepared, be excellent in what you do, but just be yourself. Don't be, you can't be mimicked. You can't, and we're looking for that kind of relationship with the people that we work with,
Yeah.
that they are them, they're not trying to be something false. They are their beauty.
Let me ask you this. Now I know again we're talking about so it's not about the price tag of this, but how much was that contract worth?
That one was in the 30 to 50 million type of
Jeez.
so
Right.
lots of money. I mean,
Right.
there's lots of things involved. You've got to understand what racks up the money is the area that you're in, the
Oh
things that
yeah.
you have to move, and what. There's lots. So any kind of construction, architecture, there's lots there. But I mean, the Olympics as a whole ran into billions,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
billions
Well.
of spend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and
Uh,
yeah.
Now,
So
now, so here's what I think is really interesting.
mm.
And he won that contract, correct?
No, he didn't.
He didn't. Oh man.
No, that's part two. No, that's part two. I'll tell you.
Now
That'll be another. You have to wait in the link in, and I'll
you
explain
got
what
to
that.
talk about
It's a real
that.
big lesson, a massive lesson. Yeah.
One of the things that my takeaway though is obviously the fact that this person yeah he may come in and
Hmm.
from my eyes it may just this guy's ridiculous, he's
Hmm.
all in orange, blah, 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 but he knew all of his stuff and
Yeah.
he showed up as himself,
Yeah.
and even if he didn't win that contract,
Hmm.
this is 12 years yeah, what, no, 8 years, 9 years after the Olympics,
Yeah.
and you still know
I will
this is
never
after the
forget
actual
him.
Olympics and you know the
Yeah.
story. I
Absolutely.
To me, I think that's one of those foundational pieces that we talk about when we're
Mm.
talking about how you show up,
Mm.
and not even just for government contracts or these big contracts
And
in our
everything.
everyday, yeah, in our
Absolutely
everyday
right.
lives. Uh,
When I'm coaching, it's exactly the same thing that I'm asking people to do. Show up as
yeah,
yourself. You can't. The experiences that you have, or that you've been through, or that you've learned, are unique to you.
yep,
And so, and also the same for your business. You represent your business as well,
yep,
and so
yep,
they're unique to you. And you've got them for a reason. It's by
mhm,
design. And so that's what makes Kelly Kelly. That's what
that's
makes
right.
Adrian Agent.
Sure.
And I want to interact with that. And we're looking to see parity and have that relationship, not
Yep,
just carbon copies of people that
yep.
are walking around.
Now that kind of does a great shift into what you're doing with this business coaching, because
Mm.
obviously as a I remember us talking about this, that when you make the shift from working under someone else to kind of doing your own thing,
Yeah.
you were able to kind of you're really able to see a lot of, like, it opened up a lot of the back room sort of stuff. Can you kind of talk about that a little bit, and then I want
Yeah.
to talk about how you've used that information.
So, so I'm going to be honest, right? I'm doing both. I'm doing both coaching and I'm also consulting at the same time.
Right.
It actually keeps me fresh. It actually keeps me inside those doorways that people aren't in. You
Yeah.
see things. You see what things are happening before. So even now, I'm currently managing two hospitals. I head a procurement department, commercial department, with a number of others as well. And what happens is I'm still involved. I'm still involved in these
Yeah.
arenas, and you get to understand um, why people are doing things. That's a really key thing. Why people are doing things, the trends that they might follow, when they're going to be doing it, why they evaluate, why we put packages together, why we ask questions like this and that. And by understanding these things, understanding why somebody might ask something, what our drivers are, that will
Mhm.
give you a bit of an advantage when you're trying to sell into these organizations, and especially salesmen. As you can imagine, when people find out, if you see my LinkedIn, the messages that I get all day. Oh, I got this project, I've got this product or this service, all day long. Yeah, and it might not be something that I need. Um,
Mhm.
and so it's interesting because it's a good way for me to coach businesses so that they save time, especially salesmen,
Yep.
salespeople, should I say. and save time so that they can be more effective in winning and achieving contracts.
Hmm. Okay. Yep. Now, one of the things that I think is really interesting is when you were telling me now that you were able to kind of get into to see some of the stuff behind the stage, some
Mhm.
of the how this stuff works. And I
Yeah.
remember we were talking about that when it came to your pricing. Can you go ahead and tell me a little bit about that story?
About how we do about pricing.
Well, no, no. I remember you telling me about how you realized how much was being charged for some of these things,
Oh,
how
okay.
how it made you update yours.
Absolutely right. I remember clearly, very clearly, that this is when I moved into consulting. I
Hmm.
remember that I was working for an oil industry. I got into the procurement industry when I was working for Libya, Libyan oil industry.
Hmm.
And then I moved from there to moving into some central government work, similar thing. And I remember very clearly that what it was my responsibility to award some of the consulting contracts for that
Hmm.
organization. And what was really interesting was I saw the job titles come up that these people were doing. And I kept looking at my friends, like, what are these people doing? This is the same as our job title. And they're like, yeah. And they're probably going to go and sit just over there in that seat there. And you're
Hmm.
thinking, what are they doing? And they were either brought in for specific projects or different things. And you're thinking, so why are they getting paid this hundreds or thousands of pounds a day?
Hmm.
And it's because they'd learned some expertise and they were bringing some value and quality, but essentially they were doing very, very similar work to what I was doing. And I remember I went home and I spoke to my wife and I said, I'm next. That is it.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
completely changed my life. And then I embarked on getting more professional qualifications and more studying
Hmm.
experience. And it's interesting, when I got my final professional qualification, that week was the day that I got the certificate come through. A couple of days later, I was headhunted, and then I was sitting working on the
Wow.
Olympics. But
Wow.
you get
Wow.
insight in between. So as you say, I get to see pricing across a whole number of things. So what consultants are paid for different types of projects,
Yeah.
what amount of budget is here for an IT project or an infrastructure or a services. There's so many different things that you see behind the door, and you can benchmark and understand. It gives you a window
Yep.
into these different areas, and you meet some amazing people. And yeah, I can really tell you there's some amazing people out there. So
Now,
with the top of the ground.
uh, look, I got to tell you, I was one of the main things with me doing a lot of business consulting, one of the main things that where people are caught up is the things that you would think would be super easy, like pricing. And
Hmm.
man, to kind of understand
Okay.
like I feel like, well, I wish we all had that peek
Hmm.
into the back room to see, like, wait a minute, what is everybody else charging? How, so
Yeah.
I can imagine, man.
It's
Uh,
lots of
good.
numbers flying about. But I mean, one thing I would say is this, right? That what people think procurement
Yeah,
is all about numbers and price.
yeah,
When procurement is not really about that, it's about value. We actually evaluate across value
interesting.
perspectives. So price is only one element in which
Yeah,
we
yeah,
award a contract on. You look at quality, you look at how they design their specification, their interaction with you, their aftercare. There's so many different factors that feed into
interesting.
why we would award. So yeah, often the cheapest bid is not the one that wins.
Yeah,
It's the one
yeah,
that offers the most value. And so the advantage that by having a coach like myself or other people like that, is that we can show you where areas of value are, show you how to interpret what's important to an organization just by what they're telling you. There's
yeah,
things that we do, especially government. We have a mandate that we have to advertise in a specific way.
yeah, yeah,
That gives you analytics, that gives you understanding of trends. You can see where money is going, why money is going, what type of organization. So it puts you that head that you can become a sharpshooter instead of being a scattergun type of
yeah,
person. So you can say, right, I know that these people are looking for this and they're going to be looking for it
yeah.
2020 in this quartile. And so you can make your decision.
So look, man, before I go further, I want to make
Mm.
sure that we plug in your information. Let me see if we have.
Okay,
Yeah, I
no
got
problem.
your LinkedIn. So I got the LinkedIn link for Adrian here, so you should be able to
Mhm.
see it on Facebook, LinkedIn,
Mhm.
on
Sorry,
YouTube. So if it's the case where you guys want some information, you want some understanding, this is the guy to talk to.
that's no
Uh,
problem. You can email me as well as adrian@helpmybid.com. Very
that's right.
simple,
That's
you
right.
know, but
And
LinkedIn is
and
fine.
and look, as somebody who's talked to Adrian for quite a bit of time, especially these last couple of days, he's a very helpful guy, very helpful guy. So, I want to move over into a couple of extra areas. So now we kind
Mm,
of got an idea of what you do.
mhm,
Um, what I want to do is take a little bit of time to kind of talk about what builds an Adrian Betton, right?
mm,
Because it's one part to understand what you do professionally, but to
mhm,
understand what kind of person it takes to see the challenges that you're facing. To There are some people who they're going to see that they were paid ten times less than what the other consultants were getting paid for doing the same job, and they're
mhm,
going to go right back to doing their job. So
mm,
when you think about the things like that where you've had to actually make that jump versus probably just living in your fear and not doing those sort
yeah.
of things, what pushes you, what do
Wow.
you have that makes you that guy?
Let me be really honest. I think that at the time when I was doing this jump, one, you have to renew your mind, yeah,
Yeah,
by a lot of study, a lot of interaction with people. I think that if we were to look at people not as your combatants or your opponents necessarily, they're your compadres, they're your friends, they're doing something, as opposed to I've got lots of friends or lots of people that I know that looked at the consultants that just were envious or
yeah,
looked at what
yeah.
people were doing, and then you got two choices. You can be envious or you can be, oh, I can admire them. Let me learn from them. Let
Hmm.
me investigate. They're just normal people, just like I'm just a normal person. I'm not any different. Um, whether I'm working permanent or I'm unemployed or whether I'm self-employed, it's still the same person. Just somebody might get paid, and there's a lot of people that get paid a lot more than me, and
Right.
people that get a lot less than me. I
Yeah, yeah.
appreciate that. So, but me, I've been spurred on by family, culture, definitely my faith,
Yeah,
um, friends. It's all kind of been and accumulative. And I see it as we're always learning. There's always another step we can
yeah.
go to. There's more, that you can deliver. Um, there's lots of things that kind of feed into that decision. But I think I'm more optimistic, and I want to try. Do you know what? We've
Okay.
only got one. We've only got one round in this life on Earth. So why would you live with regret and not even try it out? It doesn't make
Look,
sense.
I gotta admit, man, I think that is 100% the case. That there's it makes sense. It makes sense to take that jump if you can. But considering the fact that so many people don't do it, there's obviously a block there, and
I can
usually
speak to that. I can speak to that. Let me just.
yeah, yeah,
I think that you know what you've got to appreciate people's personality types, what brings people comfort, um, what their aspirations are. Not everybody's life is supposed to be um, a high-paid consultant, if you call it that.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and not only that, some personalities are more akin to trying to have create an environment around them which they see inverted commas as safe and stable.
yep,
That's their personality type. You have other personality types which isn't the case. That safe and stable kind of makes them uneasy. I
yeah,
think I'm a bit more like that,
yeah.
you know.
Okay,
And then
gotcha.
also as well, I love new experience. I'm turned on. If you put me in something for 3, 4, 5 years, if the task is exactly the same, only over those 3, 4, I'm going to get bored a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
and so the benefit of working in this way is that you get to work on a finite project. You see it to the end, and then you're out into faith, as I call it, and you see what comes up next. And I just thank God that there's been so many interesting projects and places that have come up. Um, and I've learned so much. And also the escalation that you can have within your career,
hmm,
going from, I remember going from a junior in my department and then I'm coming back to that organization, and by the time I come back, I'd already done head of that department,
Mm,
and so, and then you consult, and it's because there's an escalation, it's because there's an exposure, and you're brought in at the hard end, but you have to have a bit of composure, because you're going to be thrown into places
yeah,
where,
yeah.
and meetings where you have no idea what they're talking about, and you're sitting there in Google trying to work out what their last word was
Right.
about. So,
Look, man, I think you bring up a really, really strong point about what kind of personality type you have.
mm,
But now this does bring up this extra piece, right? Um, there are going to be some of us who, yeah, we prefer that safety, but
mhm.
but is there a single moment in your world where you were that other guy, the one who wanted the safety, and where you can
Yeah,
detail like maybe where it switched or where
yeah.
you had to change that up?
So I remember in the earlier stage when I left university and I was
Hmm.
working, everything was geared towards that traditional, oh, get a job, get a get married, get a
Yeah,
car, get
yeah.
a whatever, get a house, whatever that is, yeah.
Hmm.
And so some people are trying to carve out that stability within that area, yeah. Now, and absolutely, I looked at that, but then I started reading books, and there were people in my life that were there, which I just believe were just God assigned people
Hmm.
that were just
Hmm.
talking to me. I had friends, I had a good friend when I was working, and really had an impact on me. Right at the beginning of when I started working at the central government place, um, he was showing me, look, I'm thinking about starting a nursery. He's doing exactly the
Mm.
same job as me, thinking about starting a nursery. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's showing me just little bits. And
Yeah.
I mean, talking from right from creation to, oh, this I think is this might be a good logo and what have you. And he was showing me, and we was talking. And then from then to now, if you see how much he has done and achieved, I just admire him so much, because he's released himself from the corporate world, if we call it that, and he's a self-existent business person, and he's impacting the community, and he's delivering some beautiful uh, childcare for
Yeah.
the people
Yeah.
like that. So when you meet people like that, and I've got friends that are aspirational as well in those types of
Yeah.
arenas, and again, depending on which culture you come from, um, me, I'm coming from a Caribbean culture.
Yeah.
Um, so we're going to have 50 jobs, and we're going to have, we're going to try and get as much as possible. My wife, she's from African descent as well.
Yeah.
And they are very, very enterprising, probably the most hardworking people.
Yeah.
They've got every degree. And they're, again, so you mix in circles and it rubs off on you, and,
I, well, let me ask you, man, because um, for you, man, it seems just fortuitous. Like it's really good timing to have really good people who are there.
mm,
One of the things that I think is kind of interesting. Um, well, so two pieces to this. The first part is I can really appreciate the courage you have to have because I imagine, man, some people are saying, "Yep, Bob said that I should such and such," and he asked me if I wanted to jump with him, and I'm like,
mm,
"No, Bob, no."
yeah.
So I could appreciate the courage, man, and the faith that you have that this is a right thing. But
It's a
I
life
gotta
of
tell
faith.
you,
It's a
yeah,
life of faith.
yeah.
Yeah.
uh, But now the other thing that I think is kind of I guess that brings it up for me. A question for me is if if you don't see that person in your life, right? So
Hmm.
you got your culture, your background, your faith, you got all of these different things that basically made that right for you. If I want to be that guy, if I want to be that guy, but I don't have those people, I don't have those parts,
Hmm.
can you tell me what you think? How do you recommend that I get
Sure.
that?
That's a really good question. I think that especially now, the world that we're living in now, we're talking 2021, we have direct access to so many people,
Hmm.
within our network. Um, but for that person that's sitting in that job, I would say, first, sit back and speak to yourself and think about where you want to go in the future. And then you have to strategically try and plan and connect with people that are in that type of role. I'll tell you one thing that I started to do, and even now I'm learning how to do it a bit more now, is
Hmm.
just literally reaching out to people.
Hmm.
I've seen people,
Yeah.
Kelly, I've seen you, and I've reached out to you.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we've had some interactions. You've got LinkedIn. You can type in the type of people, and you can message them and say, "Hi, I'm such and such. I'm trying to find out a bit of information about getting into this career." You'll be surprised that majority of people are very, very forthcoming with information. Will do anything that they
Interesting.
want to help, and there's more people like that than there are not. And if you meet the people that don't want to give you information, just move on. There's millions of them, millions of other people that will help.
Mm,
I would definitely start to look, and these are the options that I do. So you got lots of reading, you got audio books, um, lots of podcasts which are out there. Just
yeah.
start to type it in, have a listen. There's podcasts about business. There's podcasts about finance. There's podcasts about being financially free. There's programs out there. You can do YouTube. We've got a whole YouTube university that will start. And I think that it all starts, 100%, all of this starts in your mind and your thinking, your
Mm,
mindset. And I would also advise people, I might be a bit biased, but I would advise people to get a coach.
get a
And
coach. That's
yeah,
right.
and I'm going to tell you why I say that, right? Everybody that's at the top of their field has a coach.
Yep.
Yeah. Footballers have a coach, baseball has a coach, swimmers have coaches. In fact, I'll bring it back to the Olympics. I was doing one of the contests I had to do was for executive coaching. And
Okay.
again, so I sat down and I said, "What is this?" You have to have an inquisitive mind. What
Yeah.
is this? I didn't understand it. I was like, "What is this?" And I was buying executive coaching for the entire senior leadership of the Olympic board, and it was mandatory that they had it. Not a
Mm,
question. It was mandatory that they had it. So obviously, it was of some form of importance.
yep.
Yeah. And so you can start off by having a coach, or getting a mentor, or getting a friend that's in the organization to do parts of that. But I would say that what a coach will do is push your thinking, steer your thinking, help you develop your own thinking, help you clarify some of these areas that you might want to go to and why, which is a big important question as well. Um, as in and just help you develop a plan that might go forward, that you're happy with, that works with your pace. It's slightly
Hmm.
different to a counselor.
Yeah.
We're not going to be dwelling necessarily on um, those important things that you might have been through in your life, not necessarily dwelling on those.
Yeah.
I'm not taking away from counseling in any way, or therapy in any way, but coaching is slightly different because it's future based as
Yeah.
opposed to
Yep.
past based.
Yep.
And we want to help you get as far forward as possible. And many people can be coaches.
That's right.
Hopefully that makes sense.
Look, that made total sense, and I am in 100% agreement with all of that. You really dropped some gems there.
Mhm.
One of the things that I think is really great though is when we're talking about this thing that you've done, like we're able to kind of see the transformation of how you've gone
Mhm.
step to step to step, and one of the things that I think is really, really interesting, man, is that it feels like a very natural progression for you. So at one point you're thinking, you know, follow the mold,
Mhm.
do it the way everyone else says to do it. And then you're kind of like, wait a minute, new information comes
Mhm.
in.
That's
Let's
right.
try that out. New information comes in. Let's look this way. And to
Mhm.
me, man, it is a beautiful progression. And it tells me that whether it's faith, smart, whatever. It's probably a
Mhm.
combination of all of them, honestly. And all of that has led you to this point. So now you're doing this coaching, right?
Mhm.
Uh, tell me, how does the prior experience feed into the coaching that you're doing now?
That's brilliant. So I've gone through a period of having somebody life coach me, yeah,
Yeah.
and we did coaching with individuals and in group settings, yeah, for over a period
Hmm.
of time,
Hmm.
and it was actually going through a period of time which was really traumatic for me. Some things were happening in the background,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was really hard, but it really rewired my brain. Is the
Mm,
best way to describe it. And so now the way that I perceive the world is different. So my
mhm.
thinking when I was 20 years earlier to now, it's just completely different. It's a completely
Yeah.
different thing. And so
Yeah.
thus the outcome is different. But what I really do value is that with coaches, you get lots of coaches. You got some that are book smart, some that are experience smart, some that are
Yeah.
street smart, some that are just and if we can see the totality, or if you look back over your experiences, as I've said, and your education, all of these things like that, there is value in all of those,
Yep.
and if you can help interpret those areas for somebody, or explain or give some kind of guidance for any of those areas, you can be a good coach. And
Hmm.
as you said, so all of these experiences that I have in business, things that I've seen behind the doors, especially people trying to sell, and people wondering why they don't make it through the door, or why they don't
Yeah.
win this contract, or where this is. That's just I've been living that, so I've been seeing it. I've seen hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of presentations. I've seen individuals, I've seen groups, and you learn, or you can learn if you want to, and I've seen, so I draw on that. And obviously I've got lots of other experiences outside. I've got a plethora of other things which I do. I'm an actor. I've done stage acting, so I've traveled the world doing different acting, which has taught me just everything, just the whole communication with other cultures, meeting people,
Yeah.
um, you know, trying to beat your fears when you're stepping on a stage and you've got 100 eyes looking at you, trying to remember lines, things like that. You can relate that. I've got a small business where I've got a small business which I do. I make accessories, and I'm creative. I started off in my wife. We've been in the music industry for a little while, doing bits and pieces. My wife's an amazing coach herself. She's a teacher. She's singer. She's a stage. She does stage as well. Um, I'm a father. I've got two little kids, and
Yeah.
if you want to
Yeah.
learn about coaching, and you want to
Yeah.
have, your children will teach you so much. And I
Yeah.
think that all of these experiences, you can draw on, and you can bring value. As we go
Yeah.
back to that word again, going back to value based, you
Yeah.
can bring value to people's lives, and you can help them attain and identify the value in their life as well, and what they can bring. So, yeah, part of that.
Here, let me bring up really quickly
Mhm.
Lori. Lori is awesome.
Sure.
Lori asked a question here. What are the main differences in your thinking as a result from the coaching interventions?
Oh,
So,
okay,
so
yeah.
not, I'm guessing not from the ones that you've done with
For
others,
s-
but the ones you've
People
received.
coaching me? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I can start with one really easy question.
Hmm.
Um, uh, um, Instead of thinking, well, first let's start with thinking. Then
Hmm.
it's the thinking about possibility. We've got a choice whether or not we think something's going to work out or it's not going to work out.
Hmm.
Yeah. Then you've got the thinking about um, whose voice are you actually hearing,
Mm.
which is a really deep question to answer.
Hmm.
One of the first questions that we start when we do life coaching is, what do you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then somebody might clarify that and say, oh, I want this. And you say, what do you actually want? And you zero in and you zero in. And that also helps you think about, where did these thoughts come from? Some of these things that we've wanted and desired, you've
Yep.
inherited from mother or father or sister or brother, or music,
Yep.
or film, or what have you. And yes, and that's all good and true, and that's fine. But what is your own thoughts?
Yeah.
And asking some simple questions can arrest uh, your progression, and make you stop and think, yeah, why do I want that? Is it
Mm.
that important to me? Well, and or areas like, I would think I was, prior to now, I was a bit more pessimistic.
Mm.
Now I'm much more optimistic. Another part of coaching that I've been through, really, some really deep personality trait testing and things like that, and
Yeah.
just the understanding of that there are personalities out there, and we're all a mixture of all of these different personality traits, and you have a mix and I have a mix,
Hmm.
and we're kind of hardwired. If you've got children, you look at a child. Like, I've got one child, and he is very exact from the day he's been born. He doesn't need anything taught to him. That's him. It's part of his being. I've got another one who's he's really, really loving. I don't have to teach him that. I know that if there was, and I get reports from school about how he helped this person who's lovely, and it's just a personality trait that's hardwired into people. And and what really helped me, especially with my marriage, is the fact that both myself and my wife, we went through some personality testing,
Hmm.
and it was kind of like, it was this moment where it was like, that's why you do
That's
that.
why.
That's why you do that. That's why you do.
That's right.
And then, but I have given up the fight in trying to create, um, to try and make my wife like me,
Yeah.
although I'm perfect and everybody knows this, I've
Right.
given up the fight. She's just as perfect as well, and I've let her in,
Yeah.
and and it's really given me a light of that. So there's so many fights that I don't have to take on. I just have to
That's
accept
right.
that this is this person.
That's
They've
right.
got strengths. They've got things, and my perceived weakness in them might be a strength for their calling.
Yeah.
So somebody that I'm a bit more of a go-getter and things like that, and I might not be as administrationally strong.
Yeah.
My wife is very administrationally strong in those two traits, and it annoys me because she's not like me. But
Yeah.
she's brilliant. The world would never go as brilliant as it would if you didn't have people like that. And if
Yeah.
you and that's where valuing the team and
Yeah.
valuing the unity in there. So and she's got traits, and there's things that I do which obviously annoy her because I'm just not like her,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
but the fight about trying to create this other person or make them be
Yeah.
like you or
Yep.
make the world be like you're wasting a lot of energy. We're not supposed to be like that.
Yep.
Analogy I would give is you look how many different flowers and trees and all of these things that you see in nature. God didn't just create one tree and just replicate it. There's all these different flowers. Look how many different colors there are. Look how many different types and shades and things like that. And it's
Yeah.
for a reason because it adds to that tapestry. And yeah, without a doubt, it relieved me
Yeah. Yeah.
of that feeling. I suppose you understand,
Hey, look, I am married and I have gone through very, very similar things where
Yeah.
before it's why aren't you doing it the way I want you to do it or the way that I think is right to
Mhm.
I really have grown an appreciation
Mm.
for my wife's differences.
Yeah.
It's and she and I will say the same thing like, well, obviously my way is right, but we both get it, man. Like
It's
without that uh, again, my weaknesses end up being places for her to have show her strengths and
yeah.
rather than me trying to show how strong I am,
Mm.
I admit, like, man, when it comes down to the finances, I can count and I can
Mhm.
probably do it
I'm with
well.
you.
And if she wasn't here, I don't think I'd be destitute.
That's exactly right.
But man, that is her forte. That is her
That's
thing.
right.
She loves it and she does it well.
Yeah.
Who am I to be like, well, I'm the man of the house or
Yeah.
for whatever other trope I want to hold on to. So
You're right.
yeah, man.
I'll give an
Uh,
example. I'll give an example. Right. I'm colorblind. Yeah.
okay.
Which is yes. So there's some colors, a lot of colors I can't see,
Okay.
and I've accepted that. I'm just created that way. It's fine. I'm fine. But I have to ask help from people. So I have to ask my wife and say, "Oh, what color is this?" Or my children. I'm like, I can't quite see what color that is, and they'll say, "Oh, this is green, daddy," or "This is blue," or this, and so instead of trying, but I didn't. There's a period in my time, when, especially when I was younger, I didn't realize I was. I didn't know any different.
Yeah, yeah.
And until it was pointed out to me that you can't necessarily see everything, it might not be your fault, but it might be just the perspective and how you're physiologically designed.
Hmm.
The same thing applies to how you see the world, because the way that you've been brought up, the way that you've gone through
Yeah.
life, the experiences that you've had, the people that you've met may shape your vision,
That's right. That's right.
and so you might only be able to see this, but if you appreciate that there are, an analogy I give is that I might be standing one side of the wall and you're standing the other side of the wall. My side might be red, and to me it's red. Your side might be green, and both could be true at the same
That's
time.
right. That's right.
But you have to appreciate the fact that I respect that what you're seeing is what you're seeing,
That's
what
right.
I'm seeing is what I'm seeing. And it makes a little bit easier for you to go through life if you can respect people's differences, their characters, uh, their value that they bring, their perspective that they bring.
That's
There's
right.
so many ways.
I think it's such a beautiful thing that you bring up, man, because obviously you coach, I coach,
Mhm,
We met each other the last what couple of months, few months,
mhm,
and there we don't we're obviously on different sides of the Atlantic.
mhm,
Your family, you're growing up is different from like all of that, but we are still very aligned in the place where there's a commonality among humanity where there's a baseline and
mhm.
that respect for other people, that making a space for other people, that being able to live empathetically, man. Like it to me, it's all beautiful things. It
It
really
is.
feeds into this idea of us being loving people, man. So
It's
100%
humanity.
appreciate that.
It's humanity,
Yeah,
isn't it? If you respect
yeah,
humanity, you respect, creator and the creation as well.
yep.
Um, that y- y- you can find that kind of uh, heartbeat that's matched
Yep.
across the world,
That's right.
and I
That's right.
think that that's what I love about this world that we're in now. There's no borders. Look, we're talking as if we're sitting in the same room,
That's right.
and there's other people listening in, and I value everybody else that's listening, contributions as well,
That's right.
and we can see our parity across all of these areas, and
That's right.
you get to meet people across the world via your different experiences. You get to value it even more, and that's a choice you have to make. Some people
True.
resent it, and some
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
try. But I think you'll have a much better, a much easier mental health, and a lot
It is.
less
Yeah.
obstruction to you
Yeah.
as well. We're all going through different things, but this world is smaller. We're here together.
That's right.
And again, this is why I say to you, I love my job because I get to meet so many people, so
Yep.
many, just a
Yep.
variety of people, and same thing as you.
Yeah, man, I love it, and I love the different perspectives, man. Like, I'll
Mm,
be honest with you, probably like at least half of them I don't agree with, and it is
mm,
so okay because
mm,
it opens me up to learn new things, to see things from another way, and
mhm.
if nothing else, it helps me to learn how to reason with other people who don't see things the exact same way as
Exactly.
me. So, in that sense, man, it is such a beautiful thing.
Mm,
But enough with the easy stuff here, Adrian.
mm.
Enough with the easy stuff, man. I have to hit you with all of the future stuff.
Oh wow. Okay.
So that's right. So I purposely did not clue you into any of these things
Let's go
because
with it.
I want to make sure, man. I mean, then again, you've seen the show before, but whatever, whatever.
It's the real
So
thing.
let me ask you this: where are you going? Like, what's next? What does it look like for you?
Really good question. I'm in this area of discovery at the moment. I'm really
Yeah,
trying to show up a lot more this year, specifically in the immediate short term. I'm showing up a lot more in as many environments as possible. I want to
yeah,
start showing up a bit more on some of the media and impacts on people's lives.
yeah,
Um, where I'm going in the future, I definitely want to develop the coaching and the consulting at the same time, but to be more um, impactful into some business. I really want to
yeah,
create and help people. I've got a real desire to make sure that people win contracts and win bids and level that whole playing field so that it's not
yep,
just the people that are in the know or the people that are the elites. I think
yeah,
that we need the variety, and that's my real desire. With my coaching, I want to
yeah.
really impact people's lives the way people have impacted myself, and help them along. Because when you get that, when you have that really good coaching experience and you see the light bulbs go on in
That's
people's
right.
lives, and it is
Yep.
just the most amazing
Yeah.
feeling. And I suppose as well, what I'm trying to do is just challenge myself
Hmm.
creatively, um, so that those things that are inside me, those ideas that are inside me, I at least give them a try.
Hmm.
And I keep saying to my sons, you know, my little boy was saying to me, "Daddy, I want to be like you when I grow up," and I don't accept that from him. I said, "No, you're not allowed to be like me. You have to be better. You
Hmm.
have to be better than me." And I want my
Hmm.
sons to be better. I want to raise
Yeah.
two beautiful boys that that anyone would love to marry and have. I'm trying to school them and coach them into,
Yeah. Yeah.
I want them to be. I want
Like
them to be the
whole
ones that,
human beings, right?
yeah, real whole
Yeah.
human beings. I want them to be, um, I just really want them to be better than me in
Yeah.
every way,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I believe that they will be. I'm confident that they will be. So
Uh,
those are parts of the things that are coming up in the future. But yeah, I've got other ideas which I want to get into, bit more acting, a bit more
Yeah.
creative. I want to do
Yeah.
a bit of maybe some radio or TV, and I want to do some voiceover stuff as well, and things like that.
Yeah.
Just I want to try it out.
Look, man, I haven't popped up all of the comments here, but Laura Cobb here, man, right now
Mm.
she's already ready to hire you as a voiceover, as a to do her voiceovers right now.
That's fine for
So,
me. Call me up. That's fine for
uh,
me. No worries.
so look, just one or two things because we're running
Mm.
down on time. I want to address another thing for the future.
Mm.
Um, if if you're at the end of all of this, right? You're on
Mm.
your deathbed. What do you know?
Wow.
What do you say is your life legacy? How do you know if you did enough? How do you know that what makes you happy at the end?
Wow. That's a very good question. If I was on my left, um, ultimately that I've passed on love and experience,
Mhm.
and I've tried to empty myself of all of
Yeah,
those bits that have been sown inside me. I don't want to die with these ideas and things inside me that have been sown in me for a reason, I believe, and I think it's the same for everybody else. We
yeah.
shouldn't we shouldn't. There's a great writer called Miles Monroe, speaker, Dr. Miles Monroe, and he said the richest place in the whole world is in the cemetery because it's
Hmm.
full of all of these ideas and things that people didn't do.
Yep,
And I don't want to do that. We need to die
yep.
empty of all of those things that are inside us, get them out because the world needs them. And yeah, I'd hope to be, I'd hope to have, as everybody else, my family around me. I'd hope to have love, have impact in this world. Um, I'm really conscious of the fact that it's so important that your voice is heard. So when you look around the world, um, I don't think we've got a diverse spectrum of voices.
Yeah, yeah.
Sometimes it's the loudest voice that you only hear, or the ones that's got all the means and all the ability that you hear,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
But there is value in the voice of my children. My children, it's
That's right.
tiny little voices that impact the world. Your friends, the animals, the nature, all of that has got a voice, and it's really important that we don't hide underneath this imposter syndrome, this fear,
Yeah,
this worry,
that's right.
um, and not bring out some of the things in the world because it is vital.
Yep.
What
Other
you've
people
got
need us.
inside, yeah, they
Yeah,
need 100%.
yep.
What you've got inside you
That's right.
could ultimately save me.
That's right. And
If
vice
I had the
versa.
cure, if I had the cure to COVID, as we're speaking, why would you be upset if it died within me and it was never
That's right.
brought out to the world?
That's right.
And it's the same thing with all our gifts, our talents, our
Yeah, yeah.
everything that we've got. We should, as best as possible, try and die empty. You're worth it. Your voice is valuable, um, and so we've got to try and show up. And you don't need to ask. We laugh, myself and my wife. We believe in the fact that it's always better to ask forgiveness than ask for permission. So,
So go
so
for it.
go for it.
That's right.
People will forgive you afterwards. They might not understand, might never forgive you, but but yeah,
Wow.
go for it. And I'm just gonna try and challenge myself to do that. We'll see what happens.
Um, Man, we're right up against the clock, Adrian. Bro, I got to tell you, I love so much all the stuff that you mentioned. I do think now I'm gonna start bugging you about writing a book though, because I can see it.
It's funny.
I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in there, right?
I've got a
uh,
few. I think I've got a few that's inside me. But I
yeah,
really have to say thank you for the opportunity to share and connect with you guys. And
yeah,
anybody who
man.
wants to connect
Yeah.
with me, I'm happy to talk and learn. You
That's
know.
right. That's right. And one more time, I'm gonna throw that
Mm.
in our comments so you guys will be able to see where to connect with Adrian Betton. Adrian, hold on for just a second. I'm
Yeah,
gonna play
sure.
us off with my cheesy outro.
That's fine.
Uh, my audience, I want to tell you guys, I love so much how much you guys show up. Uh, you guys really are the fuel for this thing. So
Mm.
thank you, and we'll see you again next Monday.
I
Bye,
really
guys.
appreciate it. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Ta-da! Ah, man.